are people that believe in what they call natural magic. They believe in subtle energies one way or another because they believe that if they go out and make a crop circle like that, it will create magic that all of us can enjoy together. It creates it while they are making the circle. They see balls of light and UFOs and have strange experiences. They see shadow people when they're in the crop circles making them. They have strange experiences with time change. Either the group that I was with in the Cheryl Formation, which I document in Opening Minds, the Cheryl 2000 Formation, they apparently gained about 45 minutes of time. They all seemed to experience this. I wasn't wearing a watch, so I can't verify, but they believe this happened. It's not uncommon, and this is what keeps them doing this. And they make it because they believe that people who come into the circles later will have magical experiences, and this is good for us to experience. So, yes, the answer to your question is there was a time when I didn't believe humans could do it either, because I have heard all the evidence, many of the evidence from your show and other places, that architectural firms had, it said it would take them 4 days in the daytime to do this. You're familiar with all those stories.
I am, Simeon, and so how could man have done some of these? I mean, they're so intricate, so large, so massive. The simple scale of them would preclude anything but an army of well-trained people from doing them.
These people have been working on these for about 10 years. There are at least about 10 groups in England that are working throughout the summer to make these. You can see them on documentary. Some of them are interviewed on Larry Newman's new documentary, Circle Speak, which we should all get a hold of. It's a very balanced presentation of the whole phenomena. You will hear interviews with circle makers, Circle Speak. It's a new video about it. And I have no connection to this. I just think it's a good presentation. I didn't think it was possible for them to do this until I saw them work at night. And believe me, Art, the wheat goes down very quickly with those stomper boards. And after 10 years of practice, they have gotten very, very good. If you'll notice, early on in the crop circle season, the circles will be relatively simple, and they get more complex towards August.
Yeah, oh, yes.
They're practicing, and they're learning, and by the summer, after the winter, they're a little rusty. They get better, and I'm totally convinced now that the big complicated ones, all of them, I believe, are made by human circle-making teams.
And only the simple ones.
Ironically, the simple ones seem to be still the work of some other unknown force. And the circle makers that I know have said, Simeon, before the 1990s, before the Doug and Dave era, the two guys from the pub, they were actually artists. I think they had some pretty decent motivations for doing it. They weren't really hoaxing. They were interested in making art. But nonetheless, they said, we don't know who was making them in the early 80s. What could have been extraterrestrials? And I believe that crop circles are a language that were taught to us by extraterrestrials or some other type of intelligence to encourage people eventually to learn how to do this.
But, Doctor, let's talk about the scale, please.
Yes.
I've looked at some of these, and over 10 acres, for example, just monstrous things that are so intricate, no footprints around. I want to know how they do it without a trace.
In England, you have an advantage because there are these so-called tram lines, the lines that the tractors use to go down to the field.
Yes.
We don't have them in the United States, but these tram lines allow you to enter into the field without actually walking on the wheat. You can walk down the tram lines, and you'll notice many crop formations are positioned along the tram lines. Now, researchers have said, well, that was the greater intelligence positioning those circles just in the right way to the tram lines. It's really the way the circle makers get into the fields without leaving footprints. If you want a larger circle, you just get more and more people. You remember the big one from Milk Hill 2001, the mother of all crop circles?
I surely do.
I don't want to disillusion people. I believe these circles are still real, as I've said. No matter who makes them, they have these strange effects, and we can talk about that in a moment. But that particular circle was made by between 10 and 15 people. They were up high on a hill, on the downs, as they say in England, which is actually a hill in our language. They probably had about 8 hours to work, and they don't care if it's raining, to be honest. They're going to do that circle anyway. It's very wet and cold no matter what the weather conditions are in the summer there. And they believe in these enough. They're that motivated, let me put it that way, that they will go out and make those circles. And even though to our eyes it looks impossible, so does the Sistine Chapel,
What about
and lots of other amazing
All right. What about the work of Dr. Levengood?
Yes.
In other words, the molecular changes in the stalks, and the stalks not breaking as one continually demonstrates they would with the Bohr effect. I mean, these things are just laid down. They're not broken. And then we have detectable molecular changes. How do they do that?
Well, W.C. Levengood, I think we found out recently he isn't actually a doctor. He's a research scientist. So,
okay.
Levengood. The flaw in that line of research, as far as I'm concerned, is that it makes an assumption that if you get molecular changes to the plant, there had to be some sort of energy beaming itself into the plant to do that, right? Because if we put those plants in a microwave oven and we microwave them, we're going to get the same results.
Bingo.
But it's also possible, and I think this has to be tested as another possibility, that once you make the crop formation, that different energies are going to be operating in that field. And again, this is consistent with what we know from subtle energy science, with the science of a conditioned space, as it's called. The energy patterns change. It could perhaps be due to the electrostatic charges or some other types of energy that we don't know. But when you have that shape in the field, the plants begin to change. I actually have pictures right now up on the Opening Minds website of a formation we made last summer in the Cher Hill area of England, where we paid the farmer, we went and made the formation, and we got bent nodes. And I have pictures of those bent nodes up on the website, and you can see them. I went back the next day, and they were already there. What that's caused by is the plant trying to kind of raise itself up into a vertical position again. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of things about plants that I don't think we understand, and I think to make the arguments that the BLT team has made, you need to have the proper controls in place. It's very simple to do that, Art. You just need to make a lot of man-made circles, preferably around the same time in the same area where you find the other ones, and honestly test those plants too. I'm not talking about one or two man-made formations. I'm talking like a good sample size, like 30, like we're trying to do. Make a lot of them, and then compare the results and just see for yourself. Are they really different, or are they the same from the ones that we don't really know the authorship? Another thing that happens in plants are what are called heat shock proteins. When you put a plant into stress, different types of proteins are produced to try to help the plant through that stress, and those have a very strong effect on the plant. Those sorts of chemicals could also affect the molecular structure.
Okay, so you're saying no matter man-made, alien-made, Earth environment-made, whatever causes this to happen is perhaps not even important. What is important is the effect that's created when they're made.
Yes. I have seen personally, and I'm a skeptical person like you are, but I have seen so many weird things around crop circles, Art. I know they're real.
Fine. Let's hear about them. What have you seen around crop circles, man-made or otherwise?
Okay. Let's go back to 1999, when we were just learning that humans could even make some of this. And I didn't believe it back in 99, but I learned about it in 2000. We visited a formation called the Devil's Den Formation. People that are familiar with crop circles will know this formation. It happened near a dolmen that's called, the Devil's Den, because Christians named it that way. It was a Celtic burial mound.
Yeah.
I went in there. I was actually with Masao Maki, the crop circle researcher from Japan. All of our batteries failed at the same time.
Oh, yes.
Everyone who came into that formation, their batteries all failed, and I got it on videotape before my camcorder batteries failed. In total, I know of at least 5 sets of batteries that failed in that formation. And this is the most amazing thing. I mean, someone went to Mallory Battery Factory, and they said, what could do this, okay?
And what did they say?
The only thing that they knew about that could cause batteries to fail like that was nuclear radiation.
Nuclear radiation.
But there isn't any nuclear radiation in crop circles. People have gone in with Geiger counters time and time again. And as far as I know, someone can correct me, I don't think anyone's found any nuclear radiation. It's some sort of other effect, and again, I want to suggest it could be an electrostatic effect or the subtle energy effect. I've seen that happen with my own eyes, and when you see everyone's devices that are brand new, and again, those pictures are on my website, the Opening Minds website also. You can see the pictures of the batteries that just failed, the Devil's Den Formation. When you see that with your own eyes, you'll know that crop circles are real. Now, we later found out, about 2 years later, who the author of that particular circle was, with a very reasonable degree of certainty. Because after a while, you get to know all of these different teams. If you're considered trustworthy, they'll all begin to talk to you.
So there is nothing about, for example, an electrostatic charge being able to do what you just talked about, killing batteries.
No, I know. So what could be doing it? There is another energy in crop formations. Let me just tell you something about when this happened. The startling thing to me was that my batteries failed in my static electricity measuring device and in my camcorders. I'm talking at the edge of the circle, Art. I mean, literally.